We just went through what it's going to take for this Hunter Biden stuff to sink in for people.
Well, and something I think a lot of folks are missing, and that is, I don't know if you saw it, but there was actually an affidavit that was put out by that Ukrainian prosecutor. And you heard at the end of that Biden clip there about how he said, if you don't fire the prosecutor, you're not getting the $1 billion. So who was that prosecutor? That was a guy named Viktor Shokin. And he signed an affidavit recently for a case in Austria. But during that affidavit, he actually went through the reason that he was terminated. And I want to kind of go through some of that with you because I think it's very telling. This is what the prosecutor himself says, and everybody's saying, well, he may have been fired for other reasons. I mean, we don't have any proof that had anything to do with Hunter Biden's position at Burisma. But let's listen to what Viktor Shokin said. Okay, now I've got to read this to you because it's an affidavit. He wasn't speaking on some news show. So I'm going to read it to you. And this is just part of it. But he says, the circumstances of my dismissal were that I tendered my resignation at the request of President Poroshenko. President Poroshenko asked me to resign due to pressure from the U.S. presidential administration, in particular from Joe Biden, who was the U.S. vice president. Biden was threatening to withhold $1 billion in subsidies to Ukraine until I was removed from office. After I yielded to the president's request and submitted my voluntary resignation, Poroshenko commented about it in the media. He said that I had carried out a colossal amount of work as a general prosecutor, which is something none of my predecessors had been able to do, especially with regards to my work on reforming different bodies within the prosecutor's office, on creating the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office, which enabled National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine to conduct legal work, and on creating self-governing prosecution authorities. The official reason put forward for my dismissal was that I had allegedly failed to secure the public's trust. Poroshenko and other state officials, including representatives of the U.S. presidential administration, had never previously had any complaints about my work, however. There were no grievances against me or any allegations that I had committed any corruption-related or indeed any other criminal offenses. Biden never stated anything of the kind either. Furthermore, all sanctions in respect of Yanukovych, now remember that was the Russian-supported president that was prior to Poroshenko. Okay, so all sanctions in respect of Yanukovych and his supporters remained in force and were not lifted whilst I occupied the post. Moreover, these sanctions were extended. Now listen to this part. This is so important. The truth is I was forced out because I was leading a wide-ranging corruption probe into Burisma Holdings, a natural gas firm active in Ukraine, and Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was a member of the board of directors. When you hear that, I mean, this is an affidavit from the guy. He says, the truth is I was forced out because I was leading a wide-ranging corruption probe into Burisma, and Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was a member of the board of directors. I mean, to me, that is just unbelievable. Now, he goes on to talk some more about the fact that President Poroshenko had asked him to shut the investigation down on several occasions. And Poroshenko had even told him, look, we can't get this $1 billion unless you shut the investigation down. Well, the prosecutor, Viktor Shokin, refused to shut down the investigation, the wide-ranging corruption investigation into Burisma. So, I mean, there's the quid pro quo. There's the scandal. That's the scandal. Meanwhile, we've got all these folks trying to put this on Trump somehow, President Trump. And the truth is, it was Vice President Biden who committed the quid pro quo with Ukraine and who was involved in a scandal with Ukraine. Now, I do think it's interesting because I think this particular use of this issue by the Democrats, and they're going to try to take the president down. We see that coming now, as clear as day. They're moving forward with impeachment. So we see it coming. I think this is also going to take down Joe Biden as more of this information comes out. Now, the media,
that's what the Democratic Party wants, you think?
Well, maybe so. I think there are forces that are operating within the Democratic Party who want the Democrats to go with a more radical candidate. You know, Biden's kind of considered the centrist candidate for the election. And he's also widely considered to be the only one with any shot whatsoever at beating President Trump. But they want to get somebody a lot more radical than that, somebody more like AOC, somebody maybe named Elizabeth Warren. They want to push, or Bernie even. They want to push those folks up to the front. And, I think what's going to wind up happening is they're going to wind up taking out Joe Biden through this scandal, and he should be taken out. It sounds like he was horribly, horribly corrupted. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that this is what goes on in our country. Is, he goes over to another country and gets them to fire the prosecutor in that country, and there's no reason given. You heard in the video, there was no reason given. He just said, if you don't fire that guy, you're not getting the $1 billion. And the guy himself says, yeah, the reason I was fired, I know, I talked to the president. He told me, if I don't stop investigating this company that Hunter Biden's on the board of directors of, then we're not getting the $1 billion. And so either I got to stop or you got to submit your resignation. That's what the president told him. And so he submitted his resignation. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard. And if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.